What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Full Court Talk, episode 63. How you guys doing?
Good as always, bro. Good to see
Hey
y'all.
man, good. Good to
Hey, good
see
to
you
see you
guys.
guys. Happy Halloween. Happy late Halloween.
Happy late
Yes,
So
Halloween.
sir.
it was uneventful, but it was fun. But we have a lot to talk about. So James Harden and Damian Lillard are kind of headlining the struggle, so we'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about the new foul rules, and we'll see how you guys feel about the new ones. And we'll go to it's early, but which teams should hit the panic button? And kind of an interesting topic, but we'll round it out with how much is Miles Bridges worth with him going off on a contract here? I'm interested to see what you guys think about that. But are you guys worried about James Harden and Damian Lillard? And I guess we'll bring in Bradley Beal because he's another guy that has been struggling. But how do you guys feel about them?
Man, so Dame, I haven't had a lot of chance to watch him this season, but from what we talked about and what I see in social media, obviously he's not playing, up to par of what we know that he's capable of doing. And, he's with Harden in this topic because these are guys that draw a lot of fouls. And with the recent NBA rule change, they're not getting as much calls as they're used to, especially with Harden. But Dame is the exact same way. He loves to bait you when somebody is setting a screen and you're coming up to fight over it, but he'll get you and he'll shoot it and then they'll get that call. And it happens a lot. But from what I've seen, he's not been getting that, and his numbers are showing, they're they're declining. And I think it's because it's taking a while for him and Harden to actually try to warm up now. Because before they can get to the line, see their shot fall, and it's easier, as a basketball player, we know this, when you're having a slump and you see the ball go through the net, sometimes that's all you need, especially with these professional guys. And so Dame hasn't been able to get that. And it's like Miles was saying earlier, it's very early, but a superstar caliber player not playing the way that he's supposed to in the past couple of games, especially with a team that he's been getting, you would think that Dan would be going off and leading these guys, willing them to win, right? Trying to prove people wrong because a lot of talk was going on during the offseason about him possibly leaving. But it's just, we just haven't been able to see that. And I have faith that Dame is going to be Dame one way or another. He'll pick it up, but it's very surprising and shocking to see how his play style as of right now. But like we agreed, still kind of early. He definitely still has time. So if anybody can get it going, it's Dame.
Man, I sure hope so. I want to preface all this by saying what CJ said. It's still very early. We're like 5 to 7 games into the season, so not too high, not too low, but we try our best. I'm gonna start with Harden. I am not worried about him. I know he's kind of the poster child for um for the foul rule and foul like digging. And there's just so many clips out there where Spencer, you sent us a couple where he has dudes beat and he has a layup, but instead of going to the basket, he goes into the player begging for a call. So it's just a mentality thing for him. He's been doing it and succeeding at this for like 5 years now. So it's a tough habit to shake. I'm confident that he will adjust because all the great ones do. I am kind of concerned about the Nets as a whole, aside from James Harden, just because I thought they'd be a lot better. Um, the not worrying about defense doesn't apply if Kyrie's not there because they just don't have enough firepower. So that's my concern. I know Harden will adjust. Now to Dame, this one's kind of personal because I drafted him first in my fantasy league, and he's been selling me really bad, like really bad. And I feel like I have really bad luck with my early picks because last year I took Tatum first, and then he got COVID, and he didn't pick it up until like the second half of the season. But that's besides the point. Dame is having easily his worst season of his career so far. He's averaging 18.3, where in his rookie year he averaged 19. And even his percentages, he's shooting 35% from the field and 23% from three. Again, it's 6 games in, but I've caught a handful of Blazers games, and they look so bad. It's weird because they're 2.5 years ish removed from the Western Conference Finals, and obviously Dame had a career year last year. It just looks really bad, and the main issue is Dame isn't playing like Dame. I think I would attribute it to just how emotional last season ended and the whole summer. Because one, he got married, so that's one thing. But there's the basketball side too, where he was fighting with leaving or asking for a trade, and then he had to talk to Chauncey Billups. So that's what I'm looking for coming up. Like if they go on a really bad slide here, I'd be surprised if there aren't rumors starting around him. So just because they're both great and I believe in both of them, I think they'll be fine. But it does look really bad right now.
Yeah, I think with James Harden, it's kind of interesting because his free throw numbers aren't that much lower than the previous season. I think he's sitting at like 7 from last season. This season, he's sitting at about 5.5. So it's a dip, but it's not a concerning dip. And if you've looked at the last couple of games, he's actually played really well. The game before the last one, he had 19 free throws. So he's going to find his way to foul bait, even with the new rule changes. But as long as he continues to hoop and not foul bait, he's going to do well. Like Myles said, he just tries. He has the defense beat, waits for the defender, and tries to foul bait. As long as he stops doing that and just goes up strong, he'll get the foul calls. He's getting halved, but he keeps baiting the refs, and the refs are human. They don't like that, so they don't call it. Dame is a little bit different because Dame's coming from the Olympics, getting married, and emotionally charged offseason, like Myles said. A new coach, a new system, and then on top of that, he's Chauncey Billups is a brand new coach coming in with a history, and he's never even coached a game in his life. So it's a very different season for Dame, and his struggles are very apparent. I think he's making 2.2 threes a game on 9 attempts, which is really bad for Dame. And some of his misses are complete bricks. Like they're not even hitting rim. So with him, it's a little bit more concerning. Even though he's actually having, like Myles said, his worst season, he's actually playing the least amount of minutes he's ever played in his NBA career at 33 minutes. So it'll be interesting to see how much further along he gets. CJ about a point, maybe he's trying to play his way out of Portland. I'm not sure. It looks really bad for them. Portland doesn't look good. CJ is the one kind of keeping them afloat. He's averaging like 26 a game. Maybe it's his time to be the all-star. But I think another player that we should talk about is Bradley Beal. He's had a tough start to the season. I think he's shooting around 29% from three. So he's another guy that's struggling, but the team as a whole isn't struggling. I know that CJ loves Kyle Kuzma. He is playing really well. Obviously, Montrezl Harrell is playing well. The Wizards look good. They don't really have maybe not the best record. Or, no, they're sitting, I think, 6-2 now. So they're playing pretty well. They're having a good season. I don't think they can keep it up, but we're gonna see. But what do you guys think about Bradley Beal and his struggles?
Bro, Bradley Beal, I think I keep more tabs on Beal just because I want to talk smack about Kuz. But his games, it's bad. And I think there's a clip of him just, missing a shot, and he was just like, damn, like, that's on me, like, my bad or something like that. I remember seeing it on social media, but it's bad because you would think with him, somewhat similar situation with Dame, where he has to lead this team. After Westbrook got traded away, even before him, John Wall, like it's obvious that he has the keys to this franchise, right? He's their best player. And this season, it's been Trez, which I miss. I want to say that, Bradley Beal, like, he's the one that should be stepping up, but he's just going through a slump. And, with that said, I think he can, these guys, they're great players. We know what they're capable of doing. It's just more so on adjusting. Sometimes it's just a mental thing as well. If you think about it, like, if your shot's not falling, you're gonna be like, man, like, maybe I should try to do other things and not even attempt to shoot or do anything like that. But just last season, we know, bro, definitely before, out of these three guys, I would say definitely Harden first, Beal is second, and then it's Dame for me. But it's not really missed as much because, like we just said, like, they have a good record, so they can afford for Beal to do that. So eventually he will pick it up, just because Bradley Beal is a bucket. But it's just surprising because these three that we brought up, best scorers in the game. They're the best scorers in the game, especially with, Harden is different because he has KD, but Dame, CJ, Bradley Beal, Kuzma, question mark. But like I said, Beal's supposed to be the best player on his team, but he's not even the best player. And I think the reason for him to not push the issue as much is because they're doing so well. You know what I mean? But eventually, sometimes it's just how it goes. Your team is doing well and you don't have to do as much, but eventually he's gonna have to pick up the slack because, like Spence said, I don't know if I want to say this because I was wrong about Chicago, but Wizards might not be able to pick it up. I'm going to say might. They might not be able to keep it up for the rest of the season. And when that happens, they're going to turn to Beal for help. So that's what I think.
I'm with you there. I'll take it a step further. I don't think the Wizards will make the playoffs. At most, maybe they'll hit the play-in at 9 or 10. They're just not good enough defensively. They're winning games by scoring a lot of points, which is the goal, but it doesn't work all the time. I'm not as worried about Beal just because it's situational. Like, the Nets have real title aspirations, and Dame, there is a question of how much longer will he be in Portland. I know that was a topic with Beal last season, but he's said on the record that he wants to stay. So because of those two things, I'm not concerned. And also because even though his percentages are down, he's still scoring 24 a game. I think Dame and Harden I know they're both scoring 18 per game as of right now. So he's still putting in the points. It's just not as efficient. And like you guys said, they're winning. So I'm not concerned about Beal, but I do see once, like, they will start struggling, but Beal will probably start dropping 39 again.
Still losing. But we're going to see what happens. Now we'll talk about the foul rules, getting more into about that. So how are you guys liking about, what do you guys like about the new foul rules?
Love it. The game flows so much better. And I will apologize on the record because I was a fan of James Harden and his play style. I always said if everyone could do what they would, so he's talented for that. But after seeing the clips you sent me and just other ones where he's just not even trying to score, he's trying to get fouls, I see it now. So I apologize on that. Yeah, I just love that the refs aren't bailing them out. And as a fan watching, it's so much more aesthetically pleasing. One thing I'm kind of unsure of is I think, correct me if I'm wrong, they don't want to call fouls. So say I pump fake and someone flies by, and not necessarily like jumping into them, but if I go straight up for a shot, I think they're kind of trying to tone those down too. But I kind of like having that because I think players defensively should be punished for not closing out properly. What do you guys think on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think the only way you get like like if the offense player gets fouled, obviously if they kick their legs out, then they'll get the offensive foul. But yeah, I see what you mean. I think that's a good idea because any kind of contact with a shooter, like you're gonna mess up the whole shot itself. So I like that idea.
I like it too, as long as you're not being Reggie Miller and sticking your leg out as the offensive player. Um, I think it's definitely beneficial to the person shooting. So like if you pump fake, like Myles said, and the defender comes flying at you and you go up, basketball play, not trying to hurt anybody, going straight up and they hit you, then I think it's a foul. But as an offensive player, if you kick or flare out, then it's dangerous to you and the person, right? We see plenty of times where players are jumping into the person, and I don't think that should be the foul because the contact should come to you. You shouldn't be making it in that aspect. Because personally, like I've been a victim of falling for a pump fake and the guy going straight into me and me getting hit in the chest, right? But I think the refs are doing a better job. The first clip that I can remember from this season is Steph, right? No disrespect to Steph, but he was one of the first ones to go viral for for not getting a call. And I just think that this time around, refs are blowing their whistle less, and like Myles said, it's definitely making the the flow of the game much better.
There was one more thing. I wanted to see how you guys felt about taking intentional fouls to stop fast breaks. I know for a casual fans, it's not enjoyable to watch, but I personally like it also just because it's a smart basketball play. Yeah, it's not pretty, but you want to stop them from getting an easy bucket. So I wanted to see what you guys thought about that.
I think it's good and it's bad. It can be really dangerous at times. Mid-court, I mean, I think that's okay. Like mid-court, you're fine. When you get closer to the basket, I think that's when you get pretty dangerous. It's a really situational thing, and I think that's why they haven't really made a concrete rule change about it. And I think that's because you can't. It's hard to distinguish where mid-court and where it can get dangerous. So I say keep it because it is a good basketball play. You don't want to see your team get scored on a fast break. So I think it's good. Something to keep.
Bro, I'm trying to see a 360 dunk. No, I'm just kidding.
Go on YouTube then.
Nah, for real. Nah, it's definitely a smart play because if your whole team is not back on defense, why would you let the other person score, right? Stop the break, get the foul because that 2 points or maybe 3 points if you're the Warriors, right? That is a difference between a game later on in the crunch time. So that might be the points that you could have prevented from being scored, right? And it's like you said, Myles, it's just a basketball play. It's common sense. As long as it's not a clear path foul, you're ahead of the play, then I definitely think that you should stop the play. And that can also be risky because, when players know a foul is coming, they're chucking it up. But most recently, I don't think refs have been allowing them to be in the act of shooting, but it's just a basketball play. It's smart. I would leave it at that.
Yeah, and I think like with the new foul rules, I think it's good because I think one of the plays I hate the most is the play that Chris Paul kind of like popularized and Trey Young really utilizes, stopping in front of the offensive player and just halting and getting a foul. That was one of the most frustrating things to see, especially when it puts players like the star players like Steph or like your big man in trouble. or foul trouble, and it's so frustrating to see. And I think it's good that they're not calling that anymore. It's good that they're not calling the flare outs like CJ said. I know Steph is infamous for doing that. Obviously, Reggie Miller is a player that also does that. But it's also really interesting to see the guys struggling because of the foul changes. Chris Paul is struggling, and I think it's less because he can't get a rhythm. I think he's just getting old now. 13 points a game it is his career worst. He's having a tough start to the season. His teammate Devin Booker is also having a really tough start to the season. And I think that's mostly because of a really short offseason, if an offseason at all. As soon as they lost in the finals, he boarded a plane to go to Tokyo to participate in the Olympics. So I'll give him a pass for struggling, even though he's had some pretty bad numbers. Obviously, we talked about Bradley Beal. He caught COVID, didn't play in the Olympics, so I'm not going to give him a pass. He's had a very tough start, like we said. But I think they're primarily at a 5-2 record because of Kyle Kuzma.
Most valuable Kuzma.
Yeah, he's
Change the
just
award
so
name.
good. I think he's a household name now, right?
Oh man.
And get those fits off in DC, bro. Get it off. Go over there.
Hey, weren't you gonna buy a Kuz jersey earlier today?
Yeah, man. Hey, Kyle Kuz can't.
But it's really interesting to see the guys struggle. And I think I'm sure they're gonna figure it out. I think another guy that people feel like is struggling, but actually playing decent, Trey Young. He's kind of surprised me. I thought he was gonna struggle a lot because he is probably the biggest whiner in the NBA, if not the biggest whiner, at least in the Eastern Conference. He's played well. I think he's just averaging 22, so it's a small dip, but he's still getting a shot off. He's still playing well. But what do you guys think in terms of stars struggling? Are you guys interested in it? Or are you guys kind of freaking out about these players?
I think it's kind of par for the course. I can't remember the last season where so many stars struggled this much. But just like with the Lakers, I want to give everyone like a 20 game cushion just to get acclimated. It's been the summertime off season, so they need their legs on them. So yeah, I mean, I'm just concerned about Dame again because he's on my fantasy team. But other than that, no, I'm not concerned.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not concerned either. We know what they're capable of doing. They're going to pick it up at one point or another. It is fun for me to see them not doing so well, just because, especially the Suns. And cry me a river, book. No, I'm just kidding. No, but all jokes aside, like it makes the game to me more interesting because who's going to step up, right? Who's going to step up? Like we talked about in Washington. Bradley Beal is not getting it, so Trez is, and whoever 33 is, I guess, right? Whatever his name is. You look at Portland, Cody Zeller. I'm just kidding. CJ is doing work. We know that he can get to the spots and get 25 easily. And now it's showcasing even more. It looks like Dame is taking a back seat for now, but man, can't ever count it out, bro. When it's time, right? I think the biggest way you can measure is this. In crunch time, Dame can go 0 for 25 and they're still doubling him. That's just a testament to the type of player he is, right? Same thing with Book. Same thing with Bradley Beal. These guys will still get the best defensive coverage. And, for fantasy owners like Myles and Spence, it's not fun seeing them struggle, obviously. But, for me, who's taking fantasy off this season, it's just interesting because I want to see who on the team is going to step up to help them out. Because I know some teams aren't built for the playoffs right now, like as we've discussed. But for the teams that are, it's going to be a lot when it comes time for playoffs because you're going to be able to rely on these guys. If they're building their confidence throughout the regular season, and as of right now, Wizards, Blazers, um, I don't see them making the playoffs. Watch them make it just because I said it. But, so for the teams that, with Harden, who's playing much better, like Spence said, it's just seeing who can step up. And it's not fun because, as basketball fans, we want these guys to go at it, right? 30 piece, 40 piece, do all that, but they'll figure it out. They're great players. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, and I will say, I forgot to mention this. Dame didn't play a single minute in preseason, I believe. So I think that's another reason for his struggles. He really couldn't catch any kind of rhythm. So he's trying to find the rhythm now and doing it in a regular season where the games matter. That's tough. So I guess I'm gonna cut him some slack because I know he's gonna turn on. It's Damian Lillard. He's gonna figure it out at some point. For Myles, it might feel like a lot longer, but for us,
Dude, it's felt like
we'll
a month
see.
already, bro.
It's been 2 weeks.
So bad, bro.
Hey, you know what? I think I know what he needs. He needs a change of scenery. I got the
Warriors,
perfect
right?
team.
Hey,
I got the perfect team.
I'm pretty sure Russ and Dame make the same amount or like close to it,
Well, just throw DJ too, right?
Hey, man.
Little Kent Bazemore in there. It's all good,
Hey, we'll trade one shooting struggle for another. I'm okay with it.
Hey.
Oh God. I hope Dame stays. At least goes to the East if he gets traded. He said today that he doesn't want out. Even with the Sixers chanting, we want Lillard. So, but going on to the next topic, it's early, but which team should be close to pressing the panic button? So, which team or teams do you guys have pressing the panic button this early?
Bro, I just mentioned it earlier. I got Boston. They're 2-5. They pulled the Lakers and smoked a lead today. So, guys, let me just for those that are listening that are going to hear this, see this later on. In the third quarter, with 39 seconds left, Bulls 85, Celtics 102. By the end of the fourth quarter, 128 Bulls, 114 Celtics. Yeah, that, as Dennis Schroeder says, that's tough. That is very tough. Man, I can talk smack because it happened to my team. So the Celtics, in a season where you think that, Udoka taking over, Stevens in a new position, they're healthy. You would think that they're up there in standings, but they're not. Jaylen Brown, he's been playing well. Tatum, and not so much. He's played well, but he's also played kind of, sort of low key. 2 wins is crazy for a team that they have. And we always going to talk about this as of right now. I like what Myles said about the 20 game thing where you have to wait 20 games to see how a team can fare for that long. But if I had to choose in the East, it would be the Celtics. I was going to say Brooklyn, but 4-3, looking much better. But Celtics, with the type of conference that they have and the caliber of players, they're my pick for the East. And for the West, kick rocks, Phoenix. 10 seed. Yeah, baby. I know they beat us. They smacked the Lakers, but you know what? Hey, L's. Coming off a Western Conference Finals berth, I understand the short turnaround, and I understand how it can be a struggle. But CP3, D-Book, unless it was the Lakers, not playing well. And you know what? Jay Crowder, you can salsa on that because the 10 seed so far is embarrassing coming off, like I said, the appearances that they had. Um, it's just I want to judge it like this. When the Warriors had KD, obviously, right, coming off finals appearances, back to doing well. Even when they didn't have KD, 2015, right? 2015 finals win. 2016 came back, did so much better. Lakers, 2009, 2010, right? And I know they're not in the caliber of these teams, but for someone to have the talent like they do, but I do want to cut them some slack because of the distractions they've had in the off season, I guess, and also right now. But when you pay Landry Shamet, that's what you get. So East, like I said, Boston, and surprisingly, in the West, I have the Suns.
I have the Suns in the West too. You said you would cut them slack because of the off-court stuff. I won't because it's a part of it.
Kick rocks.
Yeah, man, that's like I said before. Imagine being a fan of these kinds of franchises. It must be miserable. They're struggling really bad. Spencer mentioned Chris Paul might be getting old. He might be finally falling off. It was bound to happen. I was surprised it didn't happen in OKC. I don't know if they can replicate what they did last year, just because one, no way that many players get injured again, knock on wood. And then second is all the stuff with DeAndre Ayton. Unless ownership changes, I don't think DeAndre Ayton comes back, just because it's such a public show of disrespect. As the prophet J. Cole said, pride is the devil. Maybe he can't get over that and he'll choose a different team. I would. Shit. Yeah, man. Please. To the Lakers. So yeah, Suns are my team for the West. And in the East, I will say the Nets. Just because I know it's kind of died down. But after watching how much is missing from that team without Kyrie, and there's no solution like in near sight. Like, I don't know if you guys saw today, he posted a picture on Instagram of Lawrence Fishburne. He's the dude who played like Morpheus in the Matrix. I don't know what the hell the post means. I don't get the reference, but obviously Kyrie's still alive and well. He's still standing his ground. Has not shown any indication of taking the shots. So it's very concerning because of James Harden's upcoming free agency. Kevin Durant can only carry so much, like that team is, like I said, it's kind of like with the Sixers where you have all that money allocated for a second, third tier dude, and they're not there, and you can't get anything back to replace that. So those are my two teams who should probably start panicking soon.
Yeah, for my Eastern Conference team, I had to choose the Celtics. I mean, they've definitely they've been bad. Marcus Smart is shooting 25% as the starting point guard, playing 37 minutes. Even if your defense is that good, you can't shoot 25%. You have to produce as the starting point guard. And then on top of that, he came up with a quote right after the game today about Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown saying they don't want to pass the ball. That's something that they're going to learn. And he's talking about their time in the fourth quarter. And it showed tonight. They fumbled. They lost the game that they were up big in. The Celtics don't look good. And I'm looking at their numbers. Peyton Pritchard was a standout last season. He had a very good season. He's only playing 15 minutes a game, averaging 3.4 points. So I'm not too sure what's going on with him. And Enes Kanter, I don't know if you guys have seen, he's been in the news for some rather negative things that he's been saying about Nike and about, I think he called out China. And it kind of seems like the Celtics are blackballing him. They haven't played him very much. He's played 2 games, 5 minutes each. So it kind of seems like they're blackballing him. Maybe the NBA told them to not play him. I don't know what's going on. The only thing I know is Enes Kanter's a solid player. As much as I hate him, because he's just so annoying. He's a good, solid player who grabs rebounds like crazy. And what do you know? The Celtics need a rebounder. So it's very weird to see them struggling like this, especially for a team that was in the the Eastern Conference Finals like 2 seasons ago. Last season was a dud. This season seems like it's going to be a dud again. So if I'm a Celtics fan, I'm pissed. You have two of the best scorers in the league, and they can't even really get along, from what it seems like. So it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. I don't even see them making the playoffs at this point. And my second team, this might make you guys frustrated, but I have the Lakers. They haven't played well. And
Chill.
like
No, I'm just
CJ,
kidding.
like CJ kind of like foreshadowed, they have been very bad in the second half, lately at least. The Rockets game, I think they were up by 19 or 20, and they only won the game by 10.
They're up
And
26 again.
exactly.
Yeah.
They were up 26 against OKC, and you lost by what? I think it was like 15. And it's concerning because this is a really good squad. You have LeBron, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, you have the big names, but for some reason in the second half they can't close it. So I think as good as a 4-3 record would be for some teams, that's not good enough for the Lakers. The Lakers need to be where the Warriors are at, 5-1. But the Lakers have struggled, and it's kind of apparent with their shooting woes. I think Carmelo has been a savior for the Lakers. He's been going
Melito.
he's been going insane from three, and he's been like the most consistent player next to LeBron. Anthony Davis was absolutely terrible the other night. I think he ended with like 15 points against the Rockets, and the Rockets aren't that good. To only score 95 on the Rockets is bad because they have pretty bad defenders. So it's looking a little concerning for the Lakers at this point. But how do you guys feel as Lakers fans? Like, are you guys worried? Or are you guys like, we'll get it going?
I have a confession to make.
You like the Warriors now?
No, hell fuck no. So Saturday night, I had a family party, got pretty drunk, and the Warriors were playing the Thunder, and you guys were smacking them up. Like the game wasn't watchable, and it was in that moment where it hit me. I don't think the Lakers are going to win this year. I know I said, or I've been saying 20 games, but I'm biased and I'm more invested in this. And honestly, I don't want to get my hopes up, but I don't think they're going to win because they can't guard us. They have 4 wins, but they're not really good quality. They beat Memphis because John Morant missed a free throw. It took overtime to beat the Spurs. LeBron had to come back from rest to beat the Cavs, and then obviously the Rockets. So those are not great wins. I was especially pissed off and concerned about the OKC game because like AD and Russ are supposed to be able to beat OKC pretty handily without LeBron. And the fact that they didn't, it just pissed me off. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm not like, unless they have a big overhaul of players, like their defense is just not good enough. And their offense is not good enough to compensate for that bad defense. So, I mean, if I was being honest, I probably would have picked them as my panic team too, but I didn't want to. So thanks, Spencer.
No problem. I got you guys.
After that OKC game, yeah, I was definitely concerned. And I agree with Myles. These wins aren't quality wins. But, after the 2011 season, it hasn't looked good for the Lakers until LeBron came to the Lakers. No disrespect, to my GOAT, Kobe. He's trying to keep us afloat as much as he can. But watching those seasons was painful. And this right here, a lot of people are saying it's reminiscent of Karl Malone, Gary Payton Lakers, and they're not too far out. But I don't want to get my hopes up. I'm not counting them out just yet, just because with the upside of having veterans is they can figure it out, as opposed to having younger guys. And health is going to be the main issue, because chemistry wise, 4 of these guys played together in the Olympics and they made it work. And I honestly hope and believe they can do the same. Obviously Dwight doesn't really start as much, but I'm hoping that they can do the same and carry that on to the season. I know THT, Kendrick Nunn, Trevor Ariza, those guys aren't going to be like crazy help, with the exception of THT maybe. Trevor Ariza might be a shell of his old self. Kendrick Nunn, I'm very curious what's going to happen, just because, Austin Reeves, Walmart Caruso is actually playing pretty well. You can make a case that he's our best shooter after Melo. But I'm really hoping that they could at least put some quality ones together. And I'm not talking about 30-point blowouts for me personally. I just want a good, solid win and a total defensive effort, because we've shown that we're capable of smacking teams, but we just got to finish the job. We don't finish quarters very well. And it's so frustrating, because they get complacent. They get very casual with everything. And it's just, dude, like, you got to go for the kill, because any team in the NBA, you give them life and they'll take it. I don't care if it's the last team in the league, even the Pistons, who are the last in the East. You give them daylight, they get it going. It's a bad mix. So, I love my team. I'm always going to be a Laker fan. It's definitely frustrating. Love Russ. Needs to get it together. But I think they're capable of still winning it all, especially since, one, the Nets, they don't scare me anymore. They don't scare me at all. If anything, Milwaukee scares me more. But I think we can still run with the best of them. It's just Frank got to get them together. And it's a new season with a new offense that they're trying. And Frank, I hope you see this. Put AD at the 5, bro. Put him at the 5, bro. AD. One pinch or one touch does not mean you go down. Man. So just stay healthy. I think the Lakers can still do it. I mean, I don't want to count LeBron out, bro. If LeBron is healthy, his punk ass can still play. So, Kobe would never, but I have to believe in LeBron right now. So, yeah, it is what it is.
I will say the Lakers right now remind me like the 2017 Cavs, just a bunch of vets put together, and then they all got shipped out at the trade deadline. For your guys' sake, I hope that doesn't happen, because I think that was like them admitting defeat, but then also getting to the finals because of a weak conference. But yeah, this is the Western Conference. There's a lot more scary teams in the West. I think, hey, the Warriors look really good, and they don't even have Wiseman or Clay, so that's going to be interesting. But
still early. Pump the brakes.
Over championship. But I mean, the Lakers, I think they're suffering from what the Warriors had last year. There's just no IQ on defense, at least. When you have Bazemore, there's a ton of frustrating times where he just fouls for no reason, takes inadvertent shots, turns the ball over in stupid times. Russell Westbrook has been frustrating on defense. I think he's had some pretty tough defensive lapses. I think the Lakers will get it going, but I think it's getting close to the time where you guys need to press the panic button. probably in about 5 or 6 games if this trend keeps going on. But on to Miles Bridges. Up until tonight, I think he was scoring like 25 to 30 points each and every game. He has been going off lately. And he's doing it very efficiently. Obviously, the dude just dunks the shit out of the ball or takes open threes. And it helps when he has one of the best distributors in the league in LaMelo Ball. But is he worth a very high paid extension? I don't think he is because he's on a contract year. Many in every single major sports there is, everyone plays better on a contract year. They always play up because they know they're about to be fucking paid. Miles Bridges is no different. If you look at his past 3 seasons, this season is a clear outlier. He's never improved to this point. And even last season, his numbers actually went down, even with LaMelo coming in. And from what it seemed like, Miles Bridges was playing well. But I think he's frustrated with how the Hornets handled the contract negotiations, only offering him 4 years, $60 million, which is a pretty lowball offer for a young guy who you want to build around with LaMelo. But I think he hasn't had any real growth since his sophomore season. So I'm just not sure if he's worth what I'm assuming he thinks he's going to get a max contract. I don't think the lowball offer was good. I think 4 years, around $80 million is a good, solid offer on both sides. Still gives flexibility on the cap for the Hornets, and it still is very good money for Miles Bridges. But I just I don't trust that he's going to keep up 25 to 30 points a night. I think he's at most 15 to 16 points a game. And on top of that, he's an undersized power forward. So with decent defense at best. So I just don't know if he's going to be able to keep it up through next season to prove he's on that kind of trajectory of, I guess, stardom. But what do you guys think?
It's early. It's 7 games, but he is putting up crazy numbers, and the connection between him and LaMelo is undeniable. What I think of is Steph and Draymond. Draymond on any other team will probably not be an all-star and probably not be as good as he is. But with Steph, obviously he's the best version of himself. One of the greatest role players ever. That's how I feel about Bridges. His connection with LaMelo it's so effortless, and it oozes all over the court. So I think in Charlotte with LaMelo, if they want to build around those two, then he is worth the money. I feel like if somehow MJ could lure a big star, a big like first tier guy, like I'm not going to give a name, but just one guy, and then LaMelo's your 2, and Bridges is your 3. I think you can contend for a title with that, depending on the surrounding pieces. So yeah, if some sucker pays Bridges a lot of money, then I don't think it'll be a good move, but the Hornets definitely should.
Yeah, I got the Knicks doing that. No, I'm just kidding. But honestly, yeah, it is pretty early. But LaMelo and Miles Bridges, one of the best young duos so far. But it's all because of what LaMelo is doing to him. If we probably look at the stats of Miles Bridges scoring and who is getting him the ball when he's scoring, it's probably mostly from LaMelo. Obviously we see highlights of him just yamming on people, going crazy with in-game dunks, and occasionally shooting that open 3. And, in the contract year, obviously players are doing their absolute best to go crazy just because they want to get paid. For example, number 0 last season on the Lakers had me fueled, but wasn't consistent enough to get paid, right? I just think he's an early candidate for MIP, but it would definitely help his case if the Hornets can actually go beyond a play-in spot. And if he can still continue to average the 20s, right? Instead of what we think is going to happen, then he's going to get shot down to earth real fast. And, Miles Bridges, he's a talented scorer, and he's obviously, you can't teach athleticism. And it's one of his best qualities. And I think keeping him, even if he doesn't continue his streak of averaging double digits, I think keeping him would be, no disrespect, but part of the business standpoint, because we all know LaMelo and Miles Bridges on the fast break is must-see TV. It's box office. So it might even be a business decision on MJ's part. But, if somebody's willing to pay him more, and it also might create a rift with LaMelo and front office, just because it seems like he's the closest to MB, from this team. So I think I like what you said, Spence. 4 years, 80 mil. I think that's understandable, highest they can go. But if he can't get that, then I say, hey, let him walk, right? Maybe try for somebody else. And you know what? DeAndre Ayton wouldn't be bad on this team, in my opinion. They like to run. He's a mobile big. If he decides to go that route, so who knows? I don't know MJ well for a front office, but I think MB, he'll eventually come down to earth. But right now, it's definitely fun to watch, because in every season, there's always that one player that just, wow, he's going crazy. And then later on, just, right? So respect to him.
Yeah, I think he'll come back down to earth eventually, but it's insane to watch him put up 30 pieces. I think he'll come back down to earth soon. But if he averages 20 a game this season, I could definitely see him being the MIP. But that's going to do it for episode 63. Thank you guys for coming back. It's always fun to talk hoops with you guys.
First, man.
I love basketball, man.
Yeah,
I love basketball.
I love basketball.
This has been a fun season too. There's been a lot of different things happening. At least it seemed like the drama's not going to stop. So we're going to have a lot to talk about every week. But be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out our links down in the description. But that's going to do it for us. So we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.